Hi, I just thought I'd post another of the old man's films on bits and pieces I've done to this bike for the trip I did last year, and I intend to do another trip this year to Turkey, into the Taurus Mountains. So I'll start at the front. Okay, I have my assistants here, Spad and Nicey, and Russell disappearing over there. And I've actually put a compressor in the area of the fairing here. Not all bikes have got this area, obviously, but on the 950s they have, and the 990s they have a hollow inside of here. So I've stripped down a normal Chinese compressor, and it's actually put inside there. You can see zip ties here attaching it, but it all fits in there nice and tight and tidy. And then the pipe comes out around here, and this pipe is of course long enough to reach the back and the front wheels. It means that I can run my tyre pressures to whatever I want. So if I'm off-road, I can let them down again, and then I don't have to ride with them soft on the road, although these tyres are so strong it doesn't really matter that much. But it means I can run with the right tyre pressures all the time. Another job I've done, I always do to all of my bikes, and that's weld a penny washer to the back of the old foot brake here to stop it being driven through the side of the clutch cover. But I've also put an aluminium plate that I made myself out of some aluminium, and then put some sealer on there and glued that down. It stayed there. That's been on there now 12 months. So that's sorted that. This is the old exhaust guard off a two-stroke KTM, and I've obviously chopped off the front of it and put it on there, and it's made nice brake guard. Now I've been using these Krieger, they're Krieger Overlander 30s, I think, and they I like them. I think they're really good, and you can see they're pretty well mounted. I like soft luggage because it keeps everything tight, and you can tighten it up as you use stuff. You can then shrink the size of this to hold it all still, whereas if you've got metal panniers and stuff ends up getting battered around inside them. Now I made this subframe at the back here myself, and it attaches down by the footrest here. You can see it comes down to the footrest and then travels up around the back in a nice arc, same as the sideboards. And then obviously this is for mounting the tent and a big bag on the back. And it's light and it does the job. And underneath here I've got mounted another tube that's got my levers. These are old fishing rod tubes, believe it or not. So you just undo it like that, and inside, see, tyre levers. There we go. 3 nice long tyre levers, which you need to take these tyres off. And then I've got a 13-inch open-ended on there, a 13-inch ring spanner on the end of that one, and then a 1/2-inch drive for my wheel socket, which I carry for getting the spindles out. Okay, so that's those. On the other side, you're probably going to think, what the hell has he got on here? This is a gun or something, but it's not a gun. It's just a fishing rod. You got to catch your supper. So there you go. Underneath, I've got an under-seat fuel tank as well. Don't know whether you can see that. If I get down here a bit, you can. This is the tank, or the cover for the tank underneath here, and that holds about 10 litres. So increases the whole bike to about 34 litres. Because believe it or not, you can get 24 litres in these two front tanks. And you take your time, you're getting 10 in the back. And there's the filler for that. And I put my I have like a table that folds, and I attach that to the back end here, which flaps up and down, so the whole of my pack on the back of here flaps out the way. I can pull the fuel in there and flap it back down again. So it's all been thought out a fair bit. These, believe it or not, which are attached to here, are just the top of an old tap, which I drilled the centre out of, and then popped onto the top of the adjusters. It just makes them adjusting so much easier, so I can adjust them where I'm going off-road, on-road, whatever the case may be. Well, I got the obvious electrics on here, so I got two power units and a third one there. The switch for the compressor is up here, and there's the compressor on. Another little thing I've done here on my my tank bag is made up of bracket. If I just pop that out like that, made up of bracket, you can see the bracket underneath there, and then this is an old rucksack clip I've used, so that tank pad just goes in there. It means that I've only got to pop these two, 1, 2, pop that one, and the tank bag's off. Far simpler than it was before with KTM. You had to thread it down through. It was a proper pain in the ass, to be honest. So that's what we've done there. Okay, now I just took that a bit away. Now one of the better ideas, or more important ideas I had, I think, was the centre stand. You'll see now the centre stand, with the bike stood as it is, as the wheels more or less touching the ground. Okay, now this bike has got SX fork internals in it, which I've modified, but it's got 12 inches of suspension at the front and about 11 and a half at the back, because I've modified the shock as well, got a different spring on there. So it's very tall. It's as tall as the original S. Now, it was possible to get a stand for the S, which I had on my original S, and that would work. But I always found that it was a real job to get it on the stand. Okay? And with this bike, when it came a standard 950 2005, it was a job to get on the stand, even empty. When loaded, was the devil's own job. The stand was just too long. So what I decided to do was, once I'd done the suspension modifications, I changed the length of the stand. And it took a while. I had to keep cutting it off. You can see down here, maybe you can just about see, I cut it off. In fact, there's a piece there. You can see the piece there. There's where the weld is, and this is the piece, and then I welded the foot back on again. Okay, so I've altered the length. It took 2 or 3 goes to actually get it the right length, but now I can take the back wheel out and put the axle back through. So when I roll the wheel in, I don't have to lift the wheel up. It just rolls into place, axle through. Same applies to the front. I could take the wheel out, and with something propping the front of the bike up here, then I could just roll that wheel in. It's the right height. I know what you're going to say now. Let's have a demonstration. So, there you go. The bike's not fully loaded at the moment, but if I just stand on there, okay, grab it there, I'm not really putting too much effort into it now, I can rock it straight back onto the stand. No problem at all. And I can assure you, with a standard stand on, you'll never put a KTM on that easy. Also, because it's on, everything's touching, it's very much more sturdy. So now you're thinking, well, how the hell is he going to lube the chain? Well, this is where I've put this little piece on. I put that down into position there like that, and that then means that the back wheel will spin. Okay? No problem at all. And if I park it the other way around with the weight coming forward, or I've got a tank bag on or whatever, then it will actually spin. And the same I can actually do with the front, and I can turn the front as well, should I need to. Okay. Obviously, if I'm parking off-road, then I've got like an aluminium plate I put underneath the other side, and I got one for this side as well. There you go, simple as that, and back down she goes. Obviously, because I changed the height of this bike, I had to also change the length of the side stand as well. So there. Another thing I did with the side stand was, a lot of people worry because they're bolted straight into the gearbox casings, or your crank casings. I've never had any problem with them. On the first bike I had, I did 50,000 miles with off-road, on-road, raced it, whatever, and never took the side stand off, and never had a problem with it cracking the cases. But guys have in America. So anyway, I didn't want to put this relocation business on here, so what I've done with this stand is, I make sure it's good and tight, but I also got a ring here. You see I've welded a ring on here, and that, so that stand is all the way home now. It's up against the stop here, but it's just touching here as well now. So that means if it gets clouted here, in a crash or a rock or whatever the case may be, all the impact goes onto here, rather than actually onto the stand mounting itself. And I'm hoping that works there as well. One more thing I forgot to mention was this mirror. Normally, if I'm riding, when I go on a trip, I take this mirror off and just use the one mirror. But this one I've modified here, but just welding nuts together. Pretty crude, but it's all sealed up now and does the job, and I didn't have to pay any money for it. But all I do is I just flip it around like so, and then twist it down towards me, turn that over, tuck that down there, and there you go, she's out of the way. And it makes a hell of a lot of difference when you're driving in trees, because you're not getting, these aren't getting twatted all the time and banging your handlebars. And then to take it out of there, just bring it up, round we go, up in the position, turn that around, and Bob's your uncle. This, in case you're wondering, is for a road book. I have a road book mounted in the centre of here, and this is for advancing it and turn it back. It's, of course, knowing me, it's hydraulic rather than having one of these fancy electric ones. This switch up here I've got is for isolating all the electrics, so I can switch them off. Because I found that even having this on over long periods of time can actually gradually wear the battery down. Okay. Another thing I've done on this bike is you'll notice that there's actually a mark there, and then a bit of tape here. There used to be a bit of tape there as well. Now the reason for this is you'll notice there's no balancing weights on the wheel either. And because I balanced the wheel in the first place. Okay, I put all the weights inside, I tape them to the inside of the rim, and then I put my taper in the outside to protect it, and then obviously the tire on top of that. Okay, I find then that they never come off, and it's very rare that you need to balance modern tires. These tires go on there, they'll do like 120 mile an hour and they don't bounce around too much anyway. But you got no problem with losing the weights. The marks here are because these tires are so difficult to get off these rims because they've got a lip all the way on the outside of them. So from here to here, I've taken the lip off. Okay, and then on the other side, there should be another mark. There it is, and there. So here to here, the lip's been taken off. This means that when I take the tire off, I can pop it underneath the centre stand there, and off it comes off the rim. If you don't do this, you will struggle to get a tire off a KTM rim. The other thing I've done to this bike is another front rim. The original rim that I had on there, original KTM rim, ended up cracking out the spokes and had some massive great dents in it. So I was pretty lucky to get back here from Kazakhstan with it. They're made of cheese and totally rubbish. This wheel's been on here now for since I got back really, and it's not got one dent in it, and it's had a fair off-road thrashing. So there we go. Another thing I've done to this bike is the screen. It's carbon fibre. No, it's not. It's only carbon fibre sticker on the top of here. But I decided I was getting far too much buffeting from the screen, so I just one day just took an angle grinder to it. And believe it or not, I'd marked it. I'd asked a couple of guys what length theirs were. I marked it and just cut it off in a oneer, and that's it. Oneer, job done. I didn't even have to clean it much afterwards at all. But you got to be fairly brave. Mark with a felt tip pen, cut it straight off. But that's so much better. You get clean air straight in the helmet. Doesn't buffet your helmet around. Brilliant. The other thing is I've put in here a homemade axle pull. This works two ways. Okay, one, obviously you can pull your axle out. The second thing is, this is where I hide my dosh. I shouldn't be telling anybody that, but if you've got to hide dosh all over the bike, and all over your person, otherwise you're going to get robbed at some stage. So I pop it in there and do that back up again. Nobody ever sees it. Been through loads of borders because there's obviously a hollow axle through there. No problem at all. Oh, one last thing. This is an old 13-tooth front sprocket, which I've ground the teeth off and then welded on the bottom. It just acts as a bit of a camel toe type thing. You can see here, this is the petrol tap for the rear tank. Okay, so I can use the front tanks, left or right. I could use one or the other because you can actually separate the two tanks here. But if I'm riding in sand or whatever, then I'll use the front tanks, keep the back tank full, use that last or Vicky Verky, so you can hold the weight biased on the bike, no problem at all. Okay.